Well, working from home with children also home from school has been a challenge for many across the country. For parents whose children are living with autism, it can be even more isolating. For more, I'm now joined by Katherine Peereboom, the founder of Spectrum Support. Katherine, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show.
Firstly, how difficult is it right now for parents whose children are in that boat?
You know, I've got three beautiful little boys who are all on the spectrum, and we've been at home now for a few weeks in isolation, and the challenge is real. Just trying to keep them entertained, trying to homeschool them whilst my husband and I are still both working full time. Also just trying to ensure that their frustrations remain at bay, as well as, making sure that we stimulate them enough so that their frustrations just, don't explode. So it does present its challenges.
And how do children living with autism respond to being, I guess, out of routine, not going to school, not going about their usual day-by-day lives?
Some individuals on the spectrum think that this is just fantastic. You know, isolation for them is their comfort zone. So getting to retreat into their bedroom with the iPad or something that they really thoroughly enjoy, it's a blessing to them. To others, like my boys, it is really, really challenging for them. Not being able to understand why they can't go and interact with their friends or their peers, or just simply go outside and do some of the activities that we do, going to the park or things like that. So it has been very difficult, but you know, with autism, it is a spectrum, and some are enjoying and some are not doing so well.
Katherine, take us through some of the coping mechanisms to help get parents and children through this period.
Look, there's coping mechanisms, one for the individual with autism, and then there's also coping mechanisms for us as parents and carers. So for us primarily and firstly, we have to look after ourselves. If we don't make ourselves a priority, then things don't seem to be working in a day-to-day fashion the way that you would typically want them to be. And everybody is under a very unusual amount of pressure and stress at the moment with COVID-19. So do something for yourself every single day. Whatever it is that you enjoy, making a cuppa, having a glass of wine, giving yourself a facial, doing that DIY project, some gardening, exercise, whatever it is that's going to give you some sense of satisfaction for the end of the day. So make yourself a priority. And for the kids and you know, especially school-age students, I'm finding that having some level of structured routine for them is really helping them understand where we are in the day and what is expected of them. So they understand when they're going to do some homework, they understand when they're going to have some free time just to engage in whatever it is that they want to deal with.
Some really good advice there. Of course, you know, spatial distance, 1.5 metres apart. I mean, that's a very important thing right now during this crisis. Can that at all be a challenge, perhaps, for children who are living with autism?
Absolutely. You know, part of autism spectrum disorder is not understanding social convention or social engagements or interactions. So now with just the level of anxiety that we have in the community, and now adding an extra layer of social distancing absolutely is an issue for people. And we've experienced it personally. I've experienced it personally in the grocery store, and our community has been reaching out to us with both stories of kindness that they've experienced, but also on the other side, real stories of miscommunication between, you know, the individual on the spectrum and their behaviours, and not understanding that they have to give that social distancing. But what I will say is the autism community has really banded together, and it's just so wonderful to see, from autistic adults through to therapists and educators. They've been providing the community regular updates as, you know, our Prime Minister and our ministers develop and tell us state by state what is required of us. They've been providing wonderful visuals for the autism community to be able to explain this is what is required of us. We need to keep that social distance. We need to wash our hands, and we need to understand that our friends might be now sitting on the other side of the computer screen for a little while as opposed to in the classroom.
Some terrific advice there. Katherine Peereboom, founder of Spectrum Support. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful afternoon.